I was staying in a Hampton Inn in New Jersey when I was visiting Rowan University, a college I potentially wanted to attend. My family couldn't come with me, so I was on my own. After attending campus tours, I went to get a bite to eat at a nearby restaurant, and then went back to the hotel at around 8 p.m., planning on going back to campus again the next day. About an hour after returning to my room, a strange alarm started going off in my room, along with a white light flashing from the corner of the ceiling. A message started looping shortly after as well, saying something along the lines of, "All Hampton Inn guests, please remain in your rooms, this is a lockdown." I'd never heard of a lockdown in a hotel. I never even knew hotels had alarms like this. I found it more interesting and exciting than anything else. Eventually the sound of the alarm stopped, but the light kept flashing, and every 20 seconds or so the message would repeat. It was only like 9:30, so I turned on the TV just as background noise while I started changing clothes and brushing my teeth. I shut the lights when I was done and hopped under the covers. I watched TV for half an hour before shutting it off. The light was still flashing with an obnoxious bright white every few seconds. It was definitely going to hinder my sleep. I was starting to consider calling the front desk to ask what was going on, when the phone rang. It was someone from the front desk. I was expecting them to tell me something about the alarm and when it would shut off. But instead, the person on the other end spoke in a very concerned voice. She told me to remain calm and walk out the door. I took that opportunity to ask her what exactly was going on. She went on to tell me that there was somebody in the room with me and to get out immediately. I dropped the phone and instinctively started looking around everywhere. Part of me was curious to see if somebody was in fact in the room. I checked under the bed, looked into the empty bathroom, nobody in either spot. Then, I noticed the closet door right next to the bathroom. It was one of those closets with a wooden sliding door. It was open just a tiny crack, and through that tiny crack, I could see a person's face. At first, it didn't sink in what I was seeing, but when the door slid shut, that was when I freaked out and ran out the door. The people at the front desk showed me security footage from an hour earlier of some sketchy-looking man walking around the hallways, apparently looking for a certain room. When he got to my door, he opened it with the card he somehow acquired, and that was it. I stayed around as the authorities took the person out in chains. It was a man, of course, on the shorter side, easily 40s. He looked at me as he passed, as if he knew who I was immediately. It's scary thinking back that he may have been watching me for more than an hour from that closet.
My name is Mark, 58 years old. This story happened about 20 years ago. I used to be a truck driver, worked the night shifts. Did that for about 7 years. I enjoyed it for the most part. The pay was good. I liked the quiet time I got to myself. One night I was driving, listening to the radio and drinking coffee, what I usually do. It was really dark on the secluded roads I was driving on. No street lamps around. All I could see were my own headlights in the road, and it lit up. It was also pouring down with the rain. I came across a car that was pulled over on the side of the road. The two men then ran into the forest, leaving the car doors open. I don't know why, but something made me stop and pull over as soon as I drove past. Get my radio off, thought about what I just saw and what I should do. Now for some thought. It did look odd, so I decided to check it out. I grabbed my flashlight and walked down the road towards the car. When I got there, I couldn't see anyone around. Spoke out. I said, "Hello? Anyone there?" I shone my light in the car and had a look inside. The car was on, the keys were in the ignition. I mumbled to myself, "What's going on here?" Just as I said that, I hear a branch snap in the woods. "Hello? Who's there?" There's no answer. I call it again. "Anyone there? You hurt?" Starting to think that I shouldn't be here. Whoever those men were, the man off, clearly didn't want me to know something and didn't need any help. Turned around, about to jog back to my truck when I heard a bump. Stopped and listened. I heard it again. It was coming from the trunk of the car. I tried to open it, but it was locked. I needed the keys. I quickly got them out of the ignition, opened the trunk, and I couldn't believe what I saw. There was a woman who was gagged and tied up. She was bleeding on her forehead and tears streaming down her face. I removed the cloth from her mouth, and she was begging me to help her. Before I could do anything, the two men ran out of the trees and they attacked me. One of them hit me real hard on my knee with a crowbar. I dropped to the floor screaming in pain, while the other hit me with a bat in my legs a few times to make sure I wasn't getting back up. They both then ran to the car, slammed shut the trunk, and drove off. The whole time I could hear the woman screaming for help. I tried to get up, but I was in too much pain and I couldn't stand up. I managed to crawl back inside my truck and radio for help. I told the police what happened. That woman was never seen again.
My name is Steph, and I recently went out drinking one night with some of my co-workers to celebrate a promotion. At around 2 a.m., I decided to call it a night and phone for a taxi. I got in and I told the guy my address and he started driving. I was pretty drunk after the night out, and I actually passed out in the back seat of the taxi. I'm not sure how long I was out, but when I woke up, I looked out the window and we were driving way out into the countryside. I must have been out for a while to get this far. I said to the driver, "Where are we?" I didn't get a reply, not even a glance at me through the rearview mirror. That awful feeling of realizing the dangers I was in was dawning on me very quickly. I went to pull out my phone to call the police, and I couldn't find it. In fact, my pockets were empty, along with my bag missing. I moved slowly to open the doors, but they were locked. I told the driver to stop, but he didn't answer me. I told him again, he didn't say anything, but he just motioned his finger to his lips, implying that I shut up, while looking through the rearview mirror. At this point, I was terrified. I just sat back in the taxi with tears in my eyes, thinking the worst and what I can do to get out of this situation. The car finally stopped when he pulled into a parking lot next to a river. There were 2 vans there, and about 4 men standing outside next to the vans. The taxi driver got out and went to speak to the men. I couldn't hear what they were saying, and what I could hear I didn't understand as it was another language. One of the men then opened the van doors, and I could see about maybe 3 women tied up and gagged crying. I started to tighten my Adidas up because I knew I was going to haul ass when I got the chance. I started breathing very fast, and I could feel my adrenaline kicking in. I kept trying to open and kick the doors, but they wouldn't budge. The men then noticed this and walked over towards the car. They grabbed me and threw me on the ground. They then dragged me along the ground towards the vans and tried to force me in there with the other girls. I was kicking and screaming, trying to get out of the men's grip. I bit one of them really hard on the hand and he screamed and let go of me. I somehow managed to slip away from the other men and ran straight into the river and started swimming as best as I could to the other side. The men were shouting and getting into their vans, to which I assumed to try and capture me again. But they never did, because I finally made it across the river and started running across the fields to get away as far as I could. And I didn't see or hear these men again. I found help and eventually informed the police of what happened. As far as I know, I never heard anything from that taxi driver, those men, and most importantly, those kidnapped girls. My name is
4 years ago, when I was a senior in high school, my parents had to go on a business trip over the weekend. They told me I could have some friends over, but no parties. They left Friday night. It was Saturday morning when I called 5 of my friends and said my parents had gone for the weekend. We all agreed to hang out that night at my place. We invited our girlfriends too, so there were 12 of us altogether. I got plenty of snacks and drinks and even ordered pizza and wings. I was hanging out with my girlfriend in front of the pool, watching my friends swim. Not everyone was swimming. Some were relaxing or just making out. I had to use the bathroom, so I started to walk to the door of my house. As I was walking, I heard leaves getting quietly crushed in the bushes. I really didn't pay much attention to it though. When I finished up in the bathroom, I looked at the time. It was about 12:30. I was getting tired, so when I went back outside, I told everybody that it was pretty late, and I didn't want neighbors complaining about anything. It was about 1 in the morning when everyone left. I was brushing my teeth, and I looked out the window. I saw something in my pool. It looked like a human silhouette. I didn't think much of it. I thought I was just seeing things because of the lack of sleep. I fell asleep and woke up at about 9:30. I went to the bathroom and took a quick glance out the window and back, but something caught my eye, so I looked outside. I saw a man standing in my pool, facing away from my house. He was tall and bald. He looked nothing like any of my friends. I was so confused, so I went outside without even using the bathroom. I walked over to the pool, yelling at that person, trying to confront him, but he didn't even move. I walked closer, and then I got goosebumps all over my body. A scary thought went through my mind. I walked closer again so I could see his face. Once I stood in front and looked at him, I screamed so loud the whole town probably heard me. In my pool was a human taxidermy with no eyes. I screamed, running back to my house, and for some reason, I turned around while I was running. I saw someone in a black hoodie with the hood up and his head tilted a bit down. I locked all the doors and called the cops. When I was on the phone, I decided to make sure all my windows were locked. I got to a window and came face to face with the hooded man. He was so creepy looking. He had a dirty face with a messy beard, but what really stood out was his smile. It was so big and psychotic. He was missing teeth, and the ones he had were yellow and some were chipped. I ran away and locked myself in the bathroom. The cops came in about 5 minutes and searched my yard and house. Nothing was found, and there was nothing left behind. The man and the taxidermy were gone. I told the cops everything and what the man looked like. The cops said that when they found him, they would let me know. But here I am, 4 years later, without a notice. I still live in the same house with my parents to this day, and I fear that that man is probably still out there. But what really kills me is that he could show up at my house again, at any time.
It. My name is Todd, and this story happened a long time ago, during the 1960s. Me and my best friend Felix lived in Nevada, Las Vegas to be exact. I was working as an engineer at the time, and Felix had a job working in Area 51. We would meet up regularly, and of course, I always asked him about what he did and what it was like in Area 51. I never got much out of him, and he always said it's classified or he can't say. However, there is this one time where he did want to tell me something. It was July 22nd, 1969, 2 days after the initial moon landing. I received a phone call from Felix asking me if I watched the moon landing the other day, and I told him of course who didn't. I'm not sure where he was calling from, but he said to me, "It's fake." I asked him what's fake. He said, "The moon landing is all a hoax. I saw it being filmed," he responded. What? Felix, I don't understand. What do you mean? He then said he can't talk and he'll meet up with me at my place later. And then the phone went dead. I was confused at what he said, but I thought I would just wait for him to come by and he can explain, but he never came. The next day, I tried to call him at his apartment, but I couldn't get through. I decided to drive over there. I knocked on his door, and to my surprise, a man answered, but it wasn't Felix. He asked me, "Can I help you?" I asked him, "Where's Felix?" He looked at me confused and told me there's no Felix and that he has lived there for over 10 years and shut the door on me. I was so confused I was losing my mind. Was I? I couldn't have got the wrong apartment. I've been visiting Felix here for years. I went downstairs to the front desk and asked for Felix's information. The woman looked at me like I was crazy and said, "They've never had that person here, and it's on none of their records." I never saw or heard from Felix ever again. It was like he just vanished and never existed. To this day, I believe whatever Phoenix was going to tell me about the moon landing being fake, it was true, and the government wanted to keep it a secret. I don't know what's going on at Area 51, but who knows? I know I would never mess with it, I would never go there, and I would never ask about it again. I was a big Tinder guy a few years ago. Everywhere I went, I would update my location and then update, my body count. Then I quit doing Tinder and stuck with Instagram. I know they're completely different, and IG has a bunch of fake accounts. So I saw this girl commenting on all of my friends' pictures. Then she commented on mine. I also saw my friends replying, so I figured she was a real person because I looked on her page and she had way more followers than people she was following. So I DM'd her. I definitely thought she wasn't going to reply, but she did within an hour. We talked for maybe 2 or 3 weeks and we made it official. She was pretty, had a degree, and a good job, as she said. I felt she was out of my league and too perfect. Every day she posted new photos, and I told my friends about her and they seemed pretty jealous, except for my friend Ryan. He said I was stupid because I never spoke with her, and I only messaged her. She invited me over because she said she can cook. Ryan told me to don't go. The rest of my friends said don't have any kids, and they would laugh. So I went over there, but not without Ryan calling me a clown first. The GPS said she lived about an hour away. When I first started to talk to her, she told me that she lived in a nice neighborhood. But when I got there were people everywhere and the neighborhood was not that nice. When I stopped at the stop sign at the corner, people walked up to my windows and asked me what do I need. But I pulled off really fast and got to the house. It was a duplex, so I messaged her and she said to come up the stairs. It was about 9 at night and people were everywhere just standing around. I knocked on the door and I was definitely excited. The door opened and to my surprise it was a bald-headed white guy with a patchy beard, tattoos everywhere including his head with a tank top on. I asked was Lisa home and he said, yeah, come in. When I walked in, I was immediately hit with a musty smell mixed with cheese. He told me to sit down, and he sat down across from me on the couch. He said she'll be out soon. He asked me did I want something to drink, and I said, yeah, sure. When I got up, I texted her, can she come out please? She immediately said yes. The man came back in with 2 cups of juice, one for him and one for myself. Then I noticed that he put a phone down on the table next to him. So I acted like I sneezed and got some on my arm. Then I asked for a tissue. He went to get some tissue and he left his phone like I thought he would. I texted her back, and to my horror, the phone rang. I looked on the caller ID and it was my name. I heard him coming back. He came back and we sat there for about a minute. And then the phone rang again because he never checked the message that I sent. He looked at the phone. I looked at the phone. Then we looked at each other. I postured up, and he calmly said, I guess you caught me. Then out of nowhere, he lunged toward me, attempting to grab me. I punched him, and he fell on his face. I ran out of there so fast, and I never looked back. Yeah, I called the cops, and when they got there, the man was still knocked out. After that, I never went on dates with people that I met online again.